Hello, this is Thomas Pepin NHL Talk. I'm Thomas Pepin, and let's talk about the NHL. So, today, unfortunately, I didn't have the subject decided until literally about 20 minutes ago. So, I didn't have it set up for the stream to start. I think I'm gonna have to find a better way. Um, the one thing is, I mean, as I mentioned, it's the same time every day or approximately. Sometimes I'm not exactly on time, but um anyways, yeah, it helps that I'm at about the same time so you can know that I'm usually here. It's just I think it would also help if I had notifications um beforehand that the stream's going to happen. So anyways, yeah, I'm going to have to find a better way to do that, but we'll figure that out eventually. Just give me 1 second here to make sure everything is all good. Perfect. Okay. So, the subject of today is taking a look at the best and worst performing NHL franchises of recent history. And so, uh, pretty simple. The way I'm going to take a look at it is we'll look at regular season performance as well as playoff performance. The easiest way to do that, in my opinion, is just a simple stat, which is points in the regular season and points in the playoffs. I think, again, the subject was just determined. Um, so I think they have both of those stats because I'm pretty sure I've used them before doing other analysis. So, um, well, obviously for regular season we have points, but for postseason, I think they do. But anyways, we will pull that up, and as always, this is on the spot. So, um, especially given that I came up with the subject 20 minutes ago, I don't know the answers. I do have to pull things up and analyze, but of course, thankfully, I can talk and, for the most part, do the work. Um, and also, it's relatively quick for the most part. A lot of things that I'll be doing anyways. So, um, now, first question is through what duration we should have a look? Uh, I think it probably makes sense to go since uh, the last lockout. So we'll do that, and then we'll maybe break it down by a lesser amount. So 2005 to 2006 is the first year after the lockout, until, and we want to eliminate this year. Um, I wish there was a way to. Oh, why did it do that? I wish there was a way to filter out the COVID year because it's kind of misleading. Um, Given the shortened season and all that stuff. Now, um, on that subject, were there any other shortened seasons? Give me a second to look that up. '94, '95, '04, '05. Oh, 2012, 13. and then 1920. They played 48 games, 2012-13. So sorry, going back to the hey, that actually works out. So what we'll do is we'll go back to the 04-05 lockout, and then we'll go back to the 12-13 lockout, because then that gives us, I believe, uh, no, that's not 10 years. Is my math wrong there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, so in 9.5 years. Oh, and because of the COVID year. Whatever. Anyways, it'll be close enough. So more for reference and general information, I guess, than to be perfectly accurate. Because you'd want every year to be the exact same number, and then that way you could see um, performance. Because, like for example, on a shortened year, if you do great, it doesn't count as much because there was less games, and then vice versa. So, but whatever. Like I said, it'll be close enough. So, and what I was hoping is that you could filter out some years, but it doesn't look like you can. Yeah. So first we start with 0506 to whoops 2021-22. So the best performing franchises are in the regular season, I should say. Pittsburgh, and we'll go by points percentage. So Pittsburgh 0.620, Capitals 0.615, Bruins 0.612, Sharks 601, Predators 597, Lightning 585, Rangers 585, Blues 582. So that's the top 8 teams. Um, so yeah, so basically, so Pittsburgh's been a great team for a while, which would make sense. They had this includes obviously the Crosby years. At what point did Yager leave? Of course, Yager was one of the best players in the league. No, he was gone before then. And I think Lemieux was still in. If that's just Crosby's years, that would be pretty impressive. No, not even really Lemieux. So, funny enough, Pittsburgh's been the best franchise, and it's the Crosby Malkin years, which is quite good. Now, let's just have a look at the 0506 roster. So it was basically Oh, no, I guess some guys that were towards the end of their careers that were still good. So, Crosby, Gonchar, Recchi, Leclerc, uh, Ryan Malone when he was doing well, Palffy, Ryan Whitney, Lemieux played a little bit. So basically, yeah, and they had Fleury. So, man, has that franchise, I guess, kind of ridden the coattails of Crosby, Malkin, uh, Fleury for the most part. Um, so I guess you can say that those guys were the drivers to make them the best team in the league through however many years that was. So 05, '06 is 16 years, if the math is right. So pretty impressive. So yeah, who the driving forces are of their performance. Uh, Washington Capitals, so they're not far off, and it has to be the same story. So Ovechkin, um, Backstrom. I'm not sure when he came in. So we'll just pull up their roster too. So it was primarily Ovechkin. So that's the thing about Pittsburgh. I think Crosby had almost double the points everybody else in the first year of the years that we're taking a look at here. So 05, '06. So he had 102 points. Next best on the team was 58 for Gonchar, which is a defenseman. And I mean, that's uh, quite good for a defenseman. So um, definitely a driver. And the reason that came up is because same thing. Ovechkin with Washington, 106 points. Next best was Zubris with 57. So Ovechkin, major driver of the team. Anybody else here to note? Yeah, a lot of not all that major names. So, man, how important they've been, I guess, Ovechkin and Crosby over the years. Um, yeah, Kolzig was in net, and then a bunch of other guys. I mean, there were some other guys that were important at times and uh, came and went, but uh, not really too many to note from Washington. Um, so there you go. It's been Ovechkin's franchise essentially. Next up, Boston Bruins. So this would have to be Bergeron because I think he came in at the same time as Crosby, Marchand, and things like that. So uh, oh, 506 Boston Bruins. So for them, it was Bergeron, Brad Boys, which I think he played for St. Louis. Yeah, so St. Louis was just after Boston. So played most seasons with St. Louis. Um, Anybody else? Glenn Murray was still playing? When did he start? Um, yeah, Glenn Murray was pretty good. Marco Sturm, Sergei Samsonov, he was quite good. Thornton didn't play as much that year. Brian Leach was there. Wow. Brad Stewart. So quite a decent roster there, but most of those guys went, and so it's more or less been Bergeron's franchise. So I guess we're seeing kind of a trend. There's like uh, a centerpiece to the team that kind of, I guess, is the driver uh, for a franchise. So there's Tim Thomas in net. Uh, he won a cup, I believe, there. And the Conn Smythe, um, that was 2011. So he was an interesting one. Yep. So Boston Bruins, you can essentially say that Bergeron's been the core driver for them. San Jose Sharks, so that's got to be Burns. Who else would have been there? Thornton for a chunk. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, Marlowe. Where is it? Here. So 0506 was Thornton was traded there. Chichu, his one great year. I don't think he had any other good years. Let's have a look. No, he had two good years. So 0506 and 0607. And I guess some other decent. Oh no, that was sorry, AHL and KHL stats, but he did well in both of those. So good for him. I had no idea what happened to him, but um, yeah. So Thornton, Marlowe, that's basically the main drivers, uh, and Chichu there. Nabokov, what he was a great goalie during his time. Vesa Toskala was there, who is known for not having a great time in Toronto. Um, Funny story there. I mean, maybe not for him, but yeah. So San Jose was Thornton and Marlowe's team for most of those years, and I guess they were the drivers there. Next up, Nashville. 0506. I think this one's kind of it's changed a lot. So, for example, Paul Kariya was there, 85 points in 82 games in 0506. Timonen, he was there for a long time. Great defenseman. Erat was there for a while. Hartnell, Hamhuis, Legwand, Upshaw. That was a really well spread out team. Steve Sullivan, Yannick Perreault. But so for them, I think their team essentially came later, but very shortly thereafter. So guys like Weber, give me a sec to move forward a couple years here and see. Korea again. Legwand, Sullivan, Erat. So I guess they were there for a while. Then Shea Weber, now Hartnell, Radulov before he left. I think that was he only played a couple of years left for a while in the KHL and then went back. Ryan Suter, Peter Forsberg was there. But yeah, I'd say it's probably in this case, it's probably Weber, Timonen, Erat, Legwand, Sullivan. But I, for the most part, it was Weber's team, I think, is the best way to put it. Weber and Timonen. So it was kind of a defensive driven team. And Vokun, great goalie there too. So, and Pekka Rinne just started at the beginning there. So a defensive driven team. Next up, Tampa Bay Lightning. And that's got to be Stamkos at that time. I can't recall when he went in, but it must have been around there. Oh, and I forgot. Yeah, Brad Richards, Le Cavalier, Vaclav Prospal, Martin St. Louis. How could I forget about these guys? Dan Boyle, great defenseman. Pavel Kubina. Dave Andrewchuk was still there. Yeah, and then that transitioned, I think, relatively quickly to Stamkos and Hedman and stuff like that. When did that happen? So that one's, I guess, been kind of split. So it went from Le Cavalier, St. Louis, and then turned into Stamkos's team. Where's Yeah, so for a chunk of the years it was them. And then eventually Stamkos came in. So yeah, so that one's I guess a bit more split in terms of who drove them, and then obviously Tampa's kind of in their prime too. Um, so they should extend into and move up in the over the years into one of the best franchises for a period of time. So yeah, and then next up, Rangers. All right, 0506. Yager was there. I didn't remember that. Nylander, the father of the Nylanders now. Straka, Rushinsky, very Czech. I believe they were all Czech. Straka was Czech. Rushinsky, Czech. Pruka, Czech. Sikora, Czech. So that's a heck of a Czech team. So it's almost the Czech national team. And yeah, they were great. Where was Roosevelt from? He was Czech. That's funny. The things you discover over the years. So that one must have changed relatively quickly too. I think that team kind of fluctuated a lot because I don't think anybody's been in New York for a massive stretch. Yager, Nylander, Shanahan. Oh, the Avery years. Avery started in there. Oh, Lundqvist. There you go. That makes sense. So it was basically Lundqvist has been the driving force of that team, I'd say. I mean, Yager was there for a while. I'm just trying to figure out at what point the core changed. Because I didn't think Yager was there for too many. Well, looks like at least what 4 years for Yager. He was with the Rangers for, yeah, 4 years. I Scott Gomez, Chris Drury. Okay, now it's getting to the guys that I remember more. Dubinsky, Shanahan was there for a little while. Paul Mara, Mark Stahl came in. Yeah, so that one was like Gomez, Drury. What was the other one I said? Gomez, Drury, Dubinsky. Yeah. Plus Lundqvist. Next and last one we'll talk about is the St. Louis Blues. And then this one I can't remember. Doug Waite, Keith Chuck, Scott Young. I don't even remember that name. So it wasn't that good of a team to start there. It must have changed quickly. Doug Waite, Bill Guerin, Keith Chuck, Eric Brewer, Barrett Jackman. David Backus. I think he was captain there. Yeah, they didn't have. I guess Keith Tkachuk he's the only one that I'm seeing here consistently. David Perron came in pretty quickly. Steen, Oshie. So this one, I guess, has been mixed too because there's not too many guys. So Keith Tkachuk is probably the one that's been around the most. It looks like, but his career ended shortly after 05-06. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it ended in 09-10. And then is this gonna tell me what the roster was? One sec. So Oshie, Steen, Backus, Boys. Yeah, that's cut. But a lot of those guys came and went too. So St. Louis has had a lot of fluctuation, it looks like too. So, but another good team for a while. So those are the top 8. And then rather than go through the rosters, obviously, if they're the worst teams, worst franchises during this time period, we'll just talk about which ones they are. So, um, so eliminating the Knights and Kraken because they were only there for, well, Kraken only 1 year, and then the Knights for, what is that? Basically a third of the games. So, worst franchise, Coyotes, not surprising to me. The fact that they're playing in Mullet Arena is just so depressing. Edmonton Oilers, right at the bottom. Buffalo Sabres. So I'm going from worst to, or the lowest and upwards. So Coyotes, Oilers, Sabres, Blue Jackets, Islanders, Senators, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Devils, and Kings. and the Kings had those Stanley Cup wins, so they've been not that consistent of a franchise too, it looks like. Um, so yeah, that's kind of funny. Man, well, I remember the Oilers struggling for a long time. That's how they got like Draisaitl, McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Yakupov. Who else is there? The first round picks. I think those are the main ones. I might be forgetting one. But anyways, they had to be for a long time because I mean, I forget how many first overall picks they had, but there was a lot. But the Coyotes, I mean, man, have they ever been a bottom dwelling team? And they've never, like, I mean, they haven't been out of it for a long time. Anyway, so that kind of summarizes the regular season best and worst. We'll flip over, and I won't bother breaking it down into a shorter term. Well, okay, so I will, but I'll just name the teams rather than go through the rosters and stuff. So just a sec here. I think it was 12-13 when the last lockout was. 12-13, and then so we'll do 13-14 to last year. And I think that's more or less the same. So just bear with me a sec to contrast here. So Pittsburgh was the best for the long-term one, so 05-06 to 2021-22. They were fourth from 2013-14 to 2021-22. Washington was 2 for the longer term, 2 for the shorter term. Bruins 3 long term, 3 short term. Sharks 4. And Sharks really dropped after. So the Sharks haven't been that great for a little while now. Still 16, and so that means in theory a playoff spot, but still not as good as they were previously, or well, for that whole stretch at least. Predators 5th, and then 7th. Lightning 6 for the long term. 1st for the short term. So they've been really good as of late. Obviously, we all know that. Rangers 7, then 8 for the short term. Blues 8, and 5 for the short term. Let's see if there's any short term ones that weren't in the longer term. So Lightning, Capitals, Bruins, Penguins, Blues. So Wild have been much better as of late. So they, for the longer term, they were 10th. Shorter term, they're 6th. So Wild have been better as of late. And then yeah, so basically the same franchises for since 05-06 have been good through to 2013-14 to now. So interesting that those franchises have done so well. Of course, like I said, there's driving players for some of those. Some of those clearly it must be management. So for example, so Penguins would have probably been Crosby as the driver, Capitals Ovechkin, Bruins Bergeron, Sharks. Forget if I saw Oh, yeah, it was, like, Marlowe and Thornton and stuff like that, uh, and Burns, I guess, at some point. Um, Predators was Weber and, Vokoun, Rene. Lightning was the Cavalier, St. Louis. So Rangers were, I guess you could say the Rangers were more well managed because they had a fluctuating team. Same with Blues. So yeah, I guess for the most part, you can. There's probably a difference there. So where it's more management driven versus player driven necessarily. Uh, so just interesting to note that. Next, we'll move to playoff performance. So just a second to change the data. So it looks like already the same teams. Um, so uh, point percentage, is that going to be the best representative? No, so cumulative points because um, you can have a good point percentage through less games. So in this case, we'll go with raw points. So through the longer term, Pittsburgh first, yet again. Tampa second, Bruins third, Sharks fourth, Blackhawks. So I wish I could easily go back. Give me a second. I'm gonna go back. I want to see where they sat in regular season stats. So Chicago sat 13th during the regular season, but was fifth again in the longer term. So 0506 to 21-22. So they were a playoff team almost exclusively, it looks like. Capitals kind of underperformed because they were towards, I think they were second. Yeah, they were second, and then they were sixth here, which is true because they've had a good regular season team and then just never, well, they won the one cup, but otherwise didn't do as good. Sharks always went deep. Um, Bruins deep, won, I forget how many cups, but at least one. How many cups did they win? So they won. Yeah, it was only one. I thought there might have been another one, but so I guess another good playoff team. Um, Rangers 7, so consistently. And Ducks, they were a good team for a long time, and they were 9 for regular season, 8 for playoffs. So basically, same teams that did well in the regular season were equally good in the playoffs over those years. With the standout one was Chicago coming in, and the one that kind of dipped. Well, the Lightning are second versus sixth during the regular season. And then it's basically the reverse. So second for Capitals, sixth for playoffs. Yeah. So basically the same teams have been right at the top for uh like I said, whatever that was, 16 years. So clearly Well, obviously, so management's gonna play a role, but, with, I guess, core players being around for a while, it really does make a difference, it seems like. Um, that would be my prediction, or sorry, my, hypothesis, I guess you could say, of what causes it. So, um, yeah, and then the teams that were garbage, um oh, this is hilarious. So, Panthers. So even including, because this includes Vegas and, well, not Seattle because they haven't made the playoffs. So it includes Vegas, and Vegas, I mean, in theory, because they've only played, I don't know for sure, but I think it's like 4 years or something like that. Um, and then they're 21st through, those 16 years, and they've barely been in the league. So good on them. I mean, that clearly says that Vegas has been really good, since they started, which everybody kinda knows. It's recent history, it's obvious, but, so Panthers are right at the bottom, of poor playoff performance. Uh, Blue Jackets, same as the regular season. Coyotes, Jets, funny enough, um, they're, right at the bottom, but during the regular season, towards the bottom, but not right there. So looks like Winnipeg's got some major problems long term, and Cheveldayoff's been there for most of those, 11 years. So how? See, this is interesting because uh, I thought Cheveldayoff has done a good job, and I guess other people have too, given that he's been there 11 years. But in reality, uh, he hasn't done well at all. So he shouldn't have a job there. He should be gone, uh, probably years ago by now. So, uh, yeah, that's funny. So, and then the next one up from there is Toronto. Like, geez, Toronto's had. I mean, they haven't been out at past the first round for I don't know how long, but a while. So, and what Dubas? I forget how long Dubas has been there. Give me a sec. It's funny because I have this information easily accessible because I am going to talk about GMs in a bit. So he was there or he's been there 4 years and a bit. So, um, interesting. Minnesota Wild, they're so high during the regular season, but right at the bottom. So the Wild have really underperformed. Um, so that's what, one, two, three, four, five, six. Sabres, they were there regular season, and then Flames. Now, where were they? Flames were 14, but 24th during the playoffs. So Flames have really underperformed in the playoffs too, clearly. Um, that's neat. So some of these other teams that were bottom dwellers actually have done quite well in the playoffs. So Ottawa was 25th during the regular season, but is 19th during the playoffs. So a difference there. Who else is interesting? Sabres. Um, Islanders 26 in the regular season, 20 in the playoffs. Yeah, I guess that's kind of the biggest differences. So relatively consistent that a playoff team, so the best regular season teams are also good in the playoffs, it looks like. The worst teams could be decent in the playoffs and could also be bad. Um, yeah, so it looks as though the playoffs kind of can be different for those lesser teams, so they can have a good run here and there. Um, yeah, so I think that kind of summarizes everything. We'll just, for interest's sake, have a look at the shorter term. So short term, Tampa, Pittsburgh, Capitals, Blues, Avalanche come up in the conversation. Bruins, Rangers, and Golden Knights. So they've been quite good um, through less games. So great franchise there in Vegas. Bottom, Devils, Coyotes, Red Wings, Panthers, Canucks, Senators, Blue Jackets, Leafs, and Flames. So yeah, a lot of teams that have been uh, struggling for a while during the playoffs, and a lot of teams doing well for a while now too. Yeah, so I think that kind of we'll stop it there. Some interesting things, I think. Uh, yeah, just teams that have been playing well for a long time, which man, it must be nice to be a fan of those teams. So uh, yeah, and to think about so I wonder how easy it will be to find. So sorry, we won't stop it there. I want to see if I can find the valuation of franchises. 2021. I hope this is not a paid article. So, no, thankfully. So, Rangers, the most valuable franchise last year. That is last year, right? Yeah. Uh, Leafs, although they've been garbage for a while, we've discovered Canadians third. They've been kind of in the middle of the pack. Blackhawks uh, were kind of middle of the pack, but good in the playoffs, which makes sense. Bruins fifth, Flyers sixth, and I think Flyers were middle of the pack. Oilers seven, and they've been at the bottom, and the Kings eighth. And then let's just go down to the bottom here and have a look. Coyotes, least valuable franchise. Panthers, Blue Jackets, Sabres, Senators, Hurricanes, although they've been relatively decent. Jets, Predators. See, that's a weird contrast. Their performance has been outstanding, but the valuation is so low. Um, hmm, that's neat. And then the Ducks and Sharks again, 23rd, yet they've performed so well. So it tells you there then that some of these markets, they they can have good performance, and it seems like uh, they just still don't get enough revenue. even though they've been really good for a long time. So that's neat. Maybe something we'll look into further, maybe tomorrow. Maybe that's going to be the subject that I'll consider. So I'm going to, as we're on this subject, bookmark this. And I might reference this tomorrow with the next subject, but I'll consider that. So yeah, so we'll wrap it there. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this stream, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Otherwise, uh, subscribe, turn on notifications. Uh, I should consistently be, well, I think I might adjust my stream time because I tend to be just a few minutes late, and I don't want to get people's hopes up and then have them leave from having to wait like 15 minutes or half an hour. Um, so I think what I'll do is moving forward, we'll go at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, and then going to 4:30 after the time change. So, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, and then of course, if you have any recommendations, comments, suggestions of topics, please do leave a comment. Uh, I'll have a look. Um, yeah, and I think that covers everything. So once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again tomorrow.